Debate. I recognize a member from Dufferin-Caledon.
Thank you very much, Speaker. So I have a couple of things I would like to cover when discussing this motion. First of all, thank you, Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes Brock member, colleague. It is worthwhile, it is valuable that we are debating this today. I want to specifically narrow my comments on the value and the difference of a select committee compared to a standing committee. I've heard both members of the Liberal government debate and talk about a limited select committee, and I have to laugh at that, because one of the really unique and, quite frankly, very valuable parts of having a select committee over a standing committee is, in fact, the broad mandate that allows the committee members who are participating in a select committee to go beyond the narrow cast focus of what our standing committees ultimately do. So for any members who have participated in a standing committee, you know that it is related directly to the legislation that comes before it, and more importantly, only the sections of the legislation that are being debated. So even if there is another section of legislation that you want to amend, you cannot, because the scope of a standing committee does not allow you to do that. The beauty and the uniqueness of select committees, I have had the honour, the fortune of participating in two since I've been elected in 2007. The first one was the Select Committee on Mental Health and Addictions. It's not a prop, Speaker, because it is actually a document that was generated by a select committee. We have to stop believing that we have a lock on all the good ideas. Part of the benefits of select committees are that they are systemic issues. Well, as the leader of the third party made mention of, less than 10% of people who are harassed, sexually harassed, report. It is a systemic problem. It is not a problem that started with Jian Ghomeshi. Okay? What made it unique was he happened to be a public figure. But it is not unique in terms of timeline. It is not unique in terms of we've been dealing with this since women and men have been working together in the workplace. It is a systemic problem. The second thing that select committees allow us to do is acknowledge, admit, there is no simple solution to this. We have to open our minds and start to figure out why is it that less than 10% are willing to come forward. There are a myriad of reasons, and let's stop assuming that we know all the answers. Is it because the justice system is set up in such a way that people don't want to put themselves through that? Is it because the process for charging is so much against the burden of proof? Is it because the workplace becomes stigmatized? Are people afraid to come forward because they're worried about their career aspirations? Let's get to the nub of the matter and have people who have experience in this issue, who have personally experienced these issues, to come forward and give us those suggestions. Because quite frankly, when we open the doors at Queen's Park, when we allow committees to actually appear and have public hearings, we get some great ideas. When the Select Committee on Mental Health and Addictions was meeting, we had 32 days of public hearings. We had over 300 presenters. And when I say 32 days, Speaker, I don't mean an hour from 9 to 10 on Thursday morning. I mean 32 days. We traveled across the province. We went into First Nations communities. We went to the north. We went to the south. We went to Ottawa. We went to the southeast. We need to do a better job of opening up our legislation and actually allowing people who know what's going on, who have suggestions, to come forward and bring those ideas. And what we've seen, quite frankly, without politicizing the issue, since the Liberal majority in June, is we get a day and a half of public hearings. And your House Leader is the one that says, be satisfied, that's enough. That's not enough for this issue. The second select committee that most recently prepared a report was, of course, the Select Committee on Developmental Services. Again, 14 days of full public hearings. Again, we went to the north, we went to Ottawa, we went to London, we went to Windsor. We need to allow people to participate in this debate. If anything has happened as a result of the Giangameshi issue, is that more people are talking about it. More people are saying, yes, it needs to be improved. How can we do it? And as legislators, they're looking to us and saying, you have an opportunity here. You can do this. You can bring people together. You can open up the doors at Queen's Park and go out and speak to the experts in the field, speak to the individuals who are dealing with this issue, the experts, the professionals who are dealing with it on a daily basis, speak to the individuals who have lived experience, I believe is the word that we like to use, and actually listen to what they have to say and the ideas. I have a family transition place in my riding. They do some excellent work. They work in the schools. They work with men who have been charged. They work with women, of course. What they have told me is there is not one solution, Sylvia. There are a whole series of areas, whether it's in the justice system, whether it's in the education system, whether it's in our own ministries, that we can actually make a difference. But unless we open our minds and unless we're willing to hear from those people, we're just going to spin our wheels here. We're not going to move forward at all. We're going to pretend that having a standing committee do 2 days or 4 days and then write that report, and then we can put it on the shelf and we can all feel better about ourselves. Well, you know what? I don't think we will. I think what we're doing is a grave disservice. I think if we actually look at this as, here is our opportunity to do the right thing, here is our opportunity to take it out of the standing committees, the partisanship that most of us willingly participate in 5 days a week, and actually make a difference. The two standing committees, and I can name members from all three sides that I participated with, we all went in there understanding that we didn't have all the solutions. But we also all went into that select committee wanting desperately to make a difference. And quite frankly, I'm going to be biased here. I think both of these reports have some excellent recommendations that have truly made a difference and ultimately will make a difference if we continue to implement the recommendations that were made. We need to do more of that. When people ask me, what you like about being an MPP, what you like about Queen's Park, I cite these two select committees because you can in-depth study issues and actually on a consensus basis come forward with ideas that collectively, regardless of whether we're orange, blue, or red, can say, yes, I think that'll actually make a difference, and yes, I want to do that. So I'm going to wrap up by saying a standing committee is too limited in scope. If you want to use the word limited, put it in front of a standing committee, because they have the pressure of other pieces of legislation that are sitting in the queue waiting to be dealt with. And there will constantly be the pressure from your House leader to say, get on with it. We have other pieces of government legislation that needs to be dealt with, so wrap this up. I believe a select committee, and I've seen it in 2 examples in my short time here, I've seen how select committees can actually delve into issues. We can get deputy ministers to come forward and say, why aren't you doing a better job? Attorney General, why did you let that Assistant Crown Attorney go away with a huge severance instead of actually dealing with the problems that were happening at that particular Crown office? We have that ability, and we're not going to have that ability if we have it in a standing committee. So I would just urge people to open up their minds, actually look at some of the work that has been happening in other select committees. You know, you don't have to pick these two. I'm obviously biased because I participated in these ones, but they don't have to be this one. The point is there is a difference between a select committee and a standing committee, and the difference is that we go in there with the assumption we're trying to make a change and we want to work together. Because let's be honest, when consensus reports come forward, it is much more, it has stronger weight behind it. If we get into a situation where there has to be a consensus report, or if there has to be a minority report that's written by the NDP caucus, and then there's a minority report written by the PC caucus, because the Liberals have a majority, it does nothing. We have accomplished zero. So I really think that if you looked at what standing committees historically have been able to accomplish in this chamber, you would understand that the reason we want a select committee is there is a difference. Thank you, Speaker.